It's all right, I'll save it back. Nowhere to stand even.
Okay, I will call this meeting of Sunday County Commissioners to order for Tuesday, June 5th. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please join me in a short prayer. Heavenly Father, we ask your guidance today in doing what is in the best interest of those we represent. We ask in a special way that you protect and guard those protecting our freedoms and their families. We ask all this in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, roll call, please.
Commissioner Kirschner?
Here.
Commissioner Stacy?
Here.
Commissioner Thomas?
Okay. I'll accept the motion to approve the digital audio video recording of the previous board session held Tuesday, May 29th.
So moved.
I will second. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Thomas? Commissioner Stacy?
Yes.
Commissioner Kirschner?
Yes. Okay, adjustments, Commissioner, you have,
One adjustment, we had a request just prior to and then while I was attending the Tiffin Historic Trust Preservation Awards last Thursday evening. She went over this request with me again, so I'd like to bring that up for us to consider.
okay, and I will also want to have some conversation about the seed versus sod controversy and Department of Jobs and Family Services, so very quickly. So, Tiffin Historic Trust.
The Tiffin Historic Trust, Vicki Ohl, on behalf of that, had sent me an email, and then we talked about it Thursday night. They are doing, once again, the behind the facade tours on Sunday, September 16th, in relations with Heritage Festival weekend. And they wanted to know if it was possible, and I think I saw a judge somewhere in the room, so it will,
Two
it'd be
judges.
impactful. Oh, Judge Kelly's here, yeah, they're both.
There we go.
And we need Judge Rep's input on this, but they wanted to know if it would be possible when they do that to include the Justice Center in their behind the scenes walking tour on that Sunday afternoon. And we can talk further about that, but I told them it's our building, but I wouldn't do it without our tenants' full support of that effort. And we'd obviously, they understand there might be some limited areas. It's not gonna be like it was prior to people being moved into facilities. So I will continue communications and bring more information back on their time frame and that kind of stuff if we're
Got your support on that?
general
Yes,
consensus.
okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Okay, so, we had gotten some preliminary, anything else on that?
Nope.
We got some preliminary bids about seeding the property, and then got a sod estimate, and it was significantly higher than seeding, obviously. So we want to, the idea is to get that area green and get this thing looking good. The judges have agreed to up to $25,000 for using sod to get it in shape quickly. And I think that we have discussed it and maybe agreed to doing it if we have the input of the money. Is that true or not true?
I think we were waiting to confirm that, but I don't know if we had talked back in here once they indicated they would support going with the side. We're getting 2 thumbs up from the hallway, so.
Yeah.
But
That's Judge Cowboy's thumb and Judge Shuff's.
Okay, all right,
Okay.
there we go. Went through 4.
So, Stacy, what do we have money allocated for the, as part of landscaping for the seeding indoor grassy area?
The only money that we have set aside for seeding is the
2,500.
the 4,000 credit
4,000.
we're going to get from the contractors is
Okay.
the only thing we've
So,
got set aside.
going back through the math again, I think the one estimate that we had was someplace in the range of 32,000 for,
Without sprinklers.
yeah, without sprinklers. But the sprinklers were $1,500 or something. They weren't,
I haven't seen that.
yeah, they weren't huge. So, call it 33,000. And we've got 4,000, you say? Okay, so we're talking about an additional $4,000 then, to put sod in as opposed to seed.
Okay, that's what their commitment was.
Yeah, with their commitment at 25. So, I don't want to keep bringing this back and forth, so I don't know if we want to approve an up to amount of, let's say $5,000 to be safe here, to use sod as opposed to seeding.
I'm okay with that because like I said, with that contribution, if we were footing the whole thing, it'd be a little hard to digest, but it's hard to turn down,
So, all
so.
right, I'll consider that a motion. I will second. Is that okay?
So we would,
Allocate an additional $5,000, up to additional $5,000.
do we need to get the money in place first?
I gotta get money put in place.
Okay, so you want to do.
So
wanna
we
do
can come
that
back
next
with it.
time?
We can come
Okay.
back with it.
I'll
You know that was.
resolution.
Okay, so you know our intention.
Yep.
All right,
Yep.
very good.
Yeah.
Very good.
Stacy, let me know when you want our money.
Okay.
Oh, you can write a check now. Right?
Yeah, right.
Okay, there will be a public meeting with the Department of Jobs and Family Services regarding some concerns about placement of children. There has been some conversation with a couple of groups about that. I talked to Kathy Oliver, and she's assembling her staff to invite any concerned citizens to a meeting to let them know what their procedures are, what they have to do statutorily, whose responsibility it is to place children. And that meeting will be held within the next couple of weeks, but I wanted to make sure everybody knew that that's coming up, and we'll be getting a memo about that. Okay, anything else you have for the adjustment?
Nope.
Anything else we need to discuss?
Nope.
Okay, so we go on to new business, and we have the AEX. Nicole, or is that AEC?
I changed it.
Okay, so the alternative energy zone is the topic at hand, and I understand that we have a petition regarding that somewhere here.
Right.
I'm sure who's gonna present it. Chris?
Yep.
Okay, if you'll state your name and
Yeah.
address, I appreciate it.
Chris Eichholz. I live on 5739 East Township Road 58. And that's Bloomville, Ohio, Bloom Township. Commissioners, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak with you today. I will be very brief in the message that I have to deliver to you. I'm sure by now you are all aware of the outstanding turnout we had at our Seneca Anti-Wind public meeting last Thursday evening. At our meeting, we had over 550 people in total in attendance. These people were able to listen to 3 excellent speakers. We had an opportunity to present information to the group that highlighted the negative effects and risks related to wind turbines. Today, I stand here with much support behind me from my fellow neighbors, friends, and Seneca County residents asking for your help. Today, we are asking for you to recognize our movement. This movement is a grassroots effort which is quickly gaining momentum, which carries with it a purpose to voice our concerns and disapproval of the various wind turbine projects that are proposed for Seneca County. We hope that today is the day that you will recognize and acknowledge our concerns as we present to you the signatures that we have amassed over the last month for your consideration to rescind the alternative energy zone in Seneca County. In my hand, I hold over 1,100 signatures from Seneca County residents. Each of these 1,100 people are formally asking you, as our county commissioners, to please rescind the alternative energy zone in Seneca County. And I'll present those to you now. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, I've got some comments, but Commissioner Stacy, would you like to speak?
Glad I can. If it's the desire to have a motion come before this, we don't have a full board today, that's obvious. Doesn't mean that obviously we don't act on any legislation. But I will not be able to support that. This commissioner's office, the previous board of county, previous board of county commissioners prior to any of us serving in 2011, put the AEZ in place. And that indicated that we were fair and open to energy development of all kinds, to companies. They started working and have been working for some time, I think over 10 years, various companies on doing things here in the county. Further, as you look into 5727.75, which is the exemption on tangible personal property and real property taxes, which is what these folks have to follow with us having the AEZ in place. it clearly indicates in there some key things that I think strongly protect Seneca County. And I'm elected to do what I feel is best for Seneca County, and knowing that a lot of the things that we have to look at totally rely on the resources we have available in order to provide those county services and the facilities for others to provide county services, etc. Specifically under Section F here, talks about the responsibilities of the owner or the leasee, talking about the regulations, filing with the certain departments, filling the different description, things they have to have, or number of full-time equivalent employees. It goes right down to the road use maintenance agreements, the bond for the roads that will get protected and taken care of pre and after the project is built. Talks about providing facility training for the emergency services. This will have to be done. They have to maintain a certain ratio of Ohio domiciled workers on the project. For the energy projects, about the certain size that talks about the university system requirement of the relationship for the education of our young people for jobs that will be in this area and centered around energy projects. And then on about the offer to sell power, renewable energy credits, etc. So that's what comes with the AEZ for all energy projects, not just wind. There's a number of articles, yes, I've read them, that are opposed and those that are for. Specifically one that was on wind generation benefits to the farmers, to the rural communities, and the environment. We are a rural county. Specifically looking further into it over the course of the last several months, and this AEZ stuff I read when I was first put in office as a county commissioner, knowing it was something that we had as an economic development tool in the toolbox. Energy policy number 141 from the Farm Bureau, Ohio Farm Bureau, states about the support of the land rights of the farmers. And then specifically from any energy company, the sample I have here is one from on the Republic Wind project, and talks about the number of things in the investments. More recently, upon the request from someone from S Power, our county auditor started compiling the data on the what-if scenario if these projects are constructed, and what that means to us with that $9,000 per megawatt pilot monies that's coming to the county. Then she also did so for the Republic Wind project. So based on those two projects alone, we've got the total numbers on that. There's a copy I can share with Commissioner Kirschner, one for Commissioner Thomas when he's back. But you can see the totals on this sheet. Excluding the $1,000 payment that comes to the general fund, keeping that out because that's not distributed based on the millage as all these other entities. Entities between the two projects, S Power and Republic Wind, that will receive funding include the County General Fund, Opportunity Center, Bellevue Schools, Clyde School, Old Fort, Buckeye Central, Pioneer, JVS, Mohawk, Seneca East, Ehovie, Vanguard. The home townships, which includes all the townships in both of the two projects, AVR Fire, AVR Joint Ambulance, Attica Venice Cemetery, Bloom Scipio Joint Ambulance, the Health District, Bellevue Library, Burchard Library, Tiffin Seneca Public Library, Mohawk, Seneca East, Commission on Aging, Mental Health and Recovery Board, and the County Park District. Totals over 2.6 million that between those two projects based on data provided by the companies at the time of the request. And we know that those are always proposed and moving with the wattage and the number of turbines, and that was on April 10th. So it's a significant amount of dollars, and as I started to say earlier, number one responsibility that we have in doing what's best in the minds of the citizens of Seneca County for their safety and well-being is how we can manage the revenue resources that we have that are limited. And if you specifically were to look at the townships alone, and our local government funds have been nothing but hacked over the years, and the local township trustees can tell you this. But there's over $275,000 alone going to those townships. That's money that some of them will not see, even though you see the breakdown in a long time coming without going back to the taxpayers. Our school districts are going to get funding, and as a previous school board member, I know as well that the revenue stream to schools is limited. And when it needs to go up, it comes back to us as taxpayers, as property owners, to have the ask. And I always support the schools. But this is a way it's going to give them some additional revenue. So with those things in mind, that's where I would stand on this issue, and I am opposed to repealing the AEZ for Seneca County.
Okay. I will start my remarks out by saying that there are a lot of good people on both sides of the issue. I have had numerous conversations with, obviously, you folks, or the folks that are here that are opposed to it. Very intelligent conversations for the most part. And I have had many conversations with those folks who wish that the project would happen. All the numbers that we're talking about, understand, are a dynamic process. It's not, I see that the totals on the Republic are $1.5 million on Commissioner Stacy's report. I estimate them to be about $1.8 million because each of the turbines in this project are projected to produce about 3.46 megawatts. The other turbines have been somewhere closer to 3. So I wanted to start the discussion out by saying that the whole back and forth on alternative energy and specifically the wind projects has been a bit of a cluster. The state representatives and state senators don't know what to do with it. Most of the time, we get unfunded mandates from the state, and we have to deal with them. In this particular case, they're talking about putting legislation together to take the decision back to us. Nothing's been firmly done, but that's one of the proposals. So there are a number of state representatives and state senators who are either very much behind these, or who are pretty much neutral, or who are against them. So there's controversy at the state level too. There's controversy at the township level. Some of the trustees actually have properties within the footprint that they are leasing. Some of them don't want to really voice their opinion because it is so controversial. Okay? I understand that. All the folks that I have talked to have a motivation to do what they believe is in the best interest of those they represent. So nobody's taking a shot at anybody here. The bottom line, and I'll read what I've written, but the bottom line is, look, this has caused controversy, brother against brother, friend against friend, neighbor against neighbor. Breaks my heart. And there are at least 1,100 people, and I would suggest probably significantly more than that, who are opposed. I don't know if it's half the county, but I know that it's a third. So I feel that somebody needs to represent your voice, and that somebody is going to be me from this point forward. Not because of all the information we've gotten, although there is some legitimacy, there is conflicting data in a lot of cases. The reason that I've come to the decision is because it's tearing us apart, and we need to get this behind us and move forward with whatever we can. The numbers that Commissioner Stacy gave are very close, and I start mine out by saying that there is generated significant money, but the big question at the end I have is, the wind group asked, the anti-wind, is any amount of money worth it? So what can we do? What can we do to stop the project? Well, our only real involvement happened in 2012 with the AEC and the pilot program. Out of the 88 counties, I think there are 8 active. I don't have this number for sure. 8 active counties who are putting some type of energy in that's alternative energy, and there are either 11 or 18 or 11 or 15 out of the 88 counties who actually have an AEZ. If we remove the AEZ, we would also remove the welcome mat for additional wind projects. As to whether or not this would affect pending proposed approved projects. So there are no promises with that. The current statute calls for a setback of 1125. I know I'm singing to the choir here, including the length of the blade tips, and the setback would be about 1,400 feet. There is no provision as it relates to any structures in current legislation. Under both proposed bills, Senate Bill 238 and House Bill 114, the setbacks would be proposed to be 1.2 plus the tips from the property line at 1225, plus the tips from the property line at 1,225, plus the tips from any home. There's some talk about adding a provision, as I said, to push the decision back to us, but that currently is not part of any bill. It's just continuing conversation. We don't need to go through the negative effects. We've iterated those how many times, so I won't talk about that. If there ends up being a path to referendum, some very real questions arise, though, and I've had this conversation. Who exactly would be asked to vote? Okay, would it be only those in the footprint? Would it be those in the affected townships? Or would it be all county residents? An argument can be made for any of those, and I know many people's feelings on this. But I think the only fair way, if it comes down to that, is a statewide, is a countywide referendum. And the reason that I say that is because of what Commissioner Stacy talked about. We can't be contradictory. If we want a voice because it affects us, then we have to give everybody that it affects a voice. Okay. The school districts would all have a piece of this. The libraries, you know, the Mental Health and Recovery Board, Opportunity Center, et cetera. So it would affect everybody in the county if this came to a vote. Again, I know there's conflicting thoughts about where that vote ought to be, but just remember the contradiction that I talked about. If it affects you, you ought to be able to vote on it. If it affects people in the county, they ought to be able to vote on it. So, the plan of action that I would suggest, and that I deliberated over is, number one, to rescind the AEC. Number two, to advocate with state elected officials to allow for a vote in some format. It's going to still take a lot of work. To participate in the Ohio Siting Board's public meetings, to do it intelligently and precisely and concisely. To conduct conversations, not confrontations, with current potential leaseholders and those who have leases that may be expiring or up for renewal, and to continue your campaign with accurate and insightful information. So, I'm going to make a motion to rescind the AEZ. I know what's going to happen. It's going to fail for a second, and we'll go on from there. So I will formally move that the AEZ be rescinded in Seneca County. I will need a second. Hearing no second, it is, there is no vote because it's not supported. So that's where we're at. Anybody from the pro-win side of things would like to make any comments? Yes, sir.
Yes, my name is Charles Huth. I am a resident of Tiffin, Ohio. As a resident and landowner of Clinton and Townships, I would like to commend the Seneca County Commissioners for their continued support thus far for the Alternative Energy Zone, and to Representative Reineke for his efforts in moving Ohio forward with responsible energy regulations. At a time when utilities are closing nuclear and coal generating plants due to high maintenance in favor of alternate energy sources such as solar, wind, and natural gas, Ohio needs to embrace the needs of future energy stabilization. These projects will not only benefit the county, townships, and affected school districts, but also county residents directly and or indirectly, not to mention jobs for Ohioans, which we all are. Just a note, Ohio is the nation's leading manufacturer of wind turbine parts, employing over 30,000 employees. As a resident of Seneca County, the residents of Seneca County have waited far too long for these energy projects to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Any additional comments? Yes, Mr. Pizzo.
Jim Pizzo. I just want to make a point to Mrs. Stacy, because the money to the county keeps being put forward over and over and over again. The money for the two projects that are in the discussion here amounts to 18 cents per day for each person in the county. Now you can see all the strife it's caused. Is that worth 18 cents per day? I know it sounds like a lot of money when you multiply it all out, but 18 cents per day is the number. Do the math on that, you'll come up to the $108 million over 30 years. And the other point is, just because we would rescind the AEZ does not mean we can't use a pilot program. It doesn't mean that all of those things that you put forth under the AEZ couldn't come into play. But on top of that, you could have the opportunity to negotiate with these companies and look out for the concerns of some of these people. Maybe get a couple turbines moved back a little bit, anything. So if you want to take the side of the people, keep the opportunity to get the money, maybe even get more money. You know, this is not an anti-wind movement by rescinding the AEZ. You might think it is, you might think that's the effect it'll have, but that's not the case. You could move forward with wind projects, every wind project that comes in. Local counties around us are doing this, and it can be done. So thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Pizzo. Yes, sir?
Rob Voska, Pleasant Township. I've been studying Europe, and if we can learn from their mistakes, it would greatly benefit us. One thing they're doing is they have a 1 mile setback, and that is because it takes all the arguments away. It takes the shadow flutter, the noise, and a lot of that kind of stuff away. So how do we coexist? Number two, in all the projects except 2 in the country, the electric rates have actually went up 5 to 40%. That damages our industry. And it's also going to damage our tax base because nothing is free. If you're going to gain one place, you're going to lose another. So if everybody's property values go down, you're going to have less money coming in as opposed to the others going up. So that's my 2 cents.
I will give people an opportunity to speak at the end here, then I just wanted to kind of get some consensus. Let's continue on with the new business, the appropriation adjustments and supplemental appropriations.
Okay.
Get those approved.
I have an appropriation adjustment within the M&R fund, moving $40,000 from the road to equipment line. I have a supplement to the permanent appropriations to the county sewer district fund, total $527 to the workers' comp line under New Regal and US 23-224. I have a resolution authorizing Seneca County Board of Commissioners to enter into a contract with Ward Construction Company. This is the chip seal project. Total amount was $578,702.51. I have a resolution authorizing the sale of county-owned property, a 1995 International dump truck for the Seneca County engineer, listed on GovDeals, sold for $4,411. I have a resolution authorizing the disposal of unneeded, obsolete, or unfit county-owned property. This was for a 2004 Ford F-550, sold for $4,116, again for the engineer's office. I have a resolution authorizing the Seneca County Board of Commissioners to sign satisfaction of mortgage for Patricia Pupa for the satisfaction of her loan with the Seneca County Commissioners for work done through the Community Housing Improvement Program FY 2017. The amount reduced by $4,413.76.
Is that the one that's administered by WSOS, the CHIP program, or is that?
This is the,
CHIP program?
this is regional plannings for the,
Yeah, but it's probably
It's not revolving loan, this one, it's,
Yeah.
okay.
Community Housing Improvement Program.
Okay, thanks.
We have a resolution appointing Mitchell Lawn to the Tiffin Seneca Public Library Board of Trustees. Taken effect immediately, expires December 31st, 2025. And that's all the resolutions I have.
Okay, I'll accept the motion to approve the appropriations.
So,
I will second. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Thomas? Commissioner Stacy?
yes.
Commissioner Kirschner?
Yes. Okay, nothing else from your side? All right, it's open forum time. I don't know how much more there is to say, but I certainly would be willing to listen to anyone who had any comments about any topic at this point. Yes, sir?
Charles Groves, Blooming Township. I want to thank Commissioner Kirschner for taking the steps and listening to the people. I would hope that Commissioner Stacy would follow her own example from the beginning of this meeting, where She asked for permission from the people that would be inconvenienced by the tour, if it was okay with them, and I would hope that she would extend that same courtesy to the rest of us that are impacted by this, rather than just kind of blanket just shutting everything down. I have a letter I'd like to read. My wife had talked to Commissioner Thomas, was very grateful for the opportunity that she reached out to him, and he took the time to speak to her and listen to her. And this is one of the things that she shared with him that I'd like to share with you today. This is a letter that was written by Jane Harper. She was a commissioner in Tipton County, Indiana. And the letter reads as follows. I'm writing to you as a former commissioner colleague who aided in the negotiations and agreements with E.ON Climate Renewables with Tipton County in 2011. From the outset, I was open to wind farm development in a small section of Tipton County because the commissioners had received no opposition, and I felt that the landowners wanted it. I made decisions based on what I felt the majority of the public wanted. As it turned out, the problem was that when the decisions were being made to build Wildcat One, the commissioners were not hearing from the majority. People really did not know what was happening, and if they did, they didn't perceive it to be as invasive as it was. As you know, public notices are small and often overlooked in the newspapers, and not so much resistance was present, until the towers went up, and people saw how enormous and intrusive they were. The red blinking lights even disturbed my own summer evenings, and my home is 6 miles from the closest tower. You don't have the time to read what all I could tell you, so in a nutshell, I just want to say that I wish I had the knowledge then that I have now. However, what I can do is try to pass on some of what I know onto the elected officials in the neighboring county, so that perhaps you can gain some wisdom from what I learned in a school of hard knocks. In Tipton County, my 83-year-old mother is mad at me since I signed agreements because she no longer has colorful birds coming to her feeders. My brother's view from his family dining room table used to be a vast expanse of crops and natural habitat. Now, pristine vista is forever marred by giant metal structures. Neighbors hate each other. Back and forth, letters to the editor have been selling papers for over a year. Families are torn apart, and because of the physical presence of the towers will be there for 30 years, those relationships will never be repaired. In short, this has become an issue that has divided our community like no other. It has torn our community apart. In May 2014 primary election is evidence that the majority of the voters supported candidates openly opposed to wind farm development, and an incumbent commissioner was voted out of office due to his unwillingness to listen to the majority on the issue, including wind. If I had to do this over, I would never enter into an agreement with any wind company now that I know what it's done to my home community. I'm not proud that my name is on those documents. The wind company has breached many parts of the agreement, but insists that their failures are minor. Their field representative is arrogant and cavalier in his attitude toward the people who are suffering with the effects of the noise and flicker. You can't lose something you never had, so you are not losing the supposed windfall of money that the project purportedly brings in. What you will lose, however, cannot be measured in dollars. You will lose the rural landscape as you know it, and you will lose the closeness of community spirit because people will hate each other over this. And the presence of the towers will always be a constant reminder of the rift. Thus, the wounds will never heal. Please consider this. What do you think of a company that knows it has fierce opposition from a segment of the county's citizenry, but still wants to build in your county? It is akin to forcing themselves onto you when they know they are not wanted by those in the project area who have been affected by their presence and are receiving no compensation for the change in their environment. How much of a community partner would they be when they really don't care about the wishes of the people? I don't know anything about which facts are true and which facts are false with regard to property values and personal health issues, but I do know, as a fact, is any issue that has become so contentious that it has caused large groups of people to assemble and vehemently oppose it, and which has caused so much heartache and angst among the citizenry, just cannot be good for the whole. I do not feel that Tipton County will ever wholly heal from the deeply personal wounds incurred by many of the placement turbines in our county. I will leave you with this last piece of wisdom from someone who has been there, done that. As an elected official, public servant, if you must go forward with approvals that will allow wind farm development, and thus you become the reason a wind farm was built in the county, it will be a decision you will regret for the rest of your life. You will join me. Jane Harper, Tipton County Commissioner, 2009 to 2012.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good summary, because I think that it doesn't talk so much about all the facts that we're talking about with flicker and noise and property values. It just talks about the interpersonal relationships and what it does to the fabric of the community. And that really is what brought me to this decision. Anything else?
Mike?
Yes, sir.
Claude Perry, I
Yeah.
live on County Road 16.
Yes, sir.
We've had our travel trailer for sale, in fact, we sold it, but we've had two couples to come and look at that. They have no dog to fight in this, okay? But, you know, that it was windy here, and they mentioned about the wind. And anyhow, the one couple from Mansfield said they had friends in Hardin County. The other couple had friends in, near Van Wert. Both of those have health problems. The doctors are saying it's because of these turbines. I am not against the wind turbines. There's places for them, but there's places where we got wasteland out west in the prairies. Put it out there, not in my front door. And you know, as far as the farmers are concerned, you know, I have a problem with this. You have to have a helicopter, or an airplane, I'm sorry, to come in to fly on sometimes. That's gonna prevent it. They can't get up over top of those. And what are you gonna do? Who's gonna lose? And as far as this tax money, you know, it goes back to our lottery in this state. Where did that money go? Didn't we hear this at that time, that it was coming to our schools? My taxes have went up and up and up and up. It's this money, to me, when they start bragging about how much money we're gonna have coming in, I don't go for it. And, you know, and it's not there, because it's been proven. But, you know, all we hear is marijuana, the same way. The tax money coming in, it's money, you know. Would you sell your mother out? Not me. I'm against it. In Seneca County.
Thank you. I have one person over here, I thought. Yes, sir.
Yeah, John Wilson from Thompson Township. My main thing when I talk to people is nobody understands how big these things are. And from what I understand from the meetings, that they have to make them this big to make money, because the smaller ones that are at Van Wert are like 420 feet or something like that, you know. But the you know, when I talk about almost 600 feet, you know, people don't comprehend what 600 feet is, and it just, you know, they look at the turbine in Bellevue, and oh, it's going to be like that. It's like that's a pinwheel, you know. That has nothing to do with what's going, you know, a quarter mile away from your house or closer, you know. So you know, I mean, just, you know, if the word got out and one of these was up right now, I think you'd have a lot more opposition to this project, you know, because people don't know how big these are and how many they're going to be, and you won't be able to drive anywhere in this county without seeing them, you know. I mean, even, you know, you probably even from Tiffin here, you'll probably see them. So it's, you know, I mean, Republic isn't that far away, and there's a lot going there, and West Lodi is, you know, from their map, is like carpet bombed. I mean, they're like all over the place there. I mean, I don't know how they fit so many in such a small area, but, you know, I'm just saying that it's, you know, I, you know, appreciate what you're doing, you know, and it's, you know, just the, you know, when one of these goes up, there's going to be a lot more opposition towards them, you know, and then it's going to be too late, you know, and they're just, you know, they're starting with Seneca. You know, we live right on the border of Huron, and that's like the next project. So they've already gone into those areas, started setting up leases, and they're going into Sandusky, you know, and it's just like people don't know what they're getting into, you know. So that's, you know, that's my concern, you know. When they go up, you know, the fire's already been set, you know. So, thank you.
Yes, sir. Nice, sir.
Steve Marlowe, County Road 19. I have a neighbor who put up a 40-footer, and he lives probably 2 blocks from me. He ended up taking it down, but I could hear it when the wind would turn inside my house with the windows closed. You know, and as far as money coming in, we're going to have to subsidize this. These companies are going to get government subsidies, so we're going to pay for that too. And in the long run, they're going to take money out of our county. They're not going to put it in here. When the wind is needed the most is when we don't have wind in June and July. That's when you need air conditioning That's when our winds are the least. 600 feet, 1,000 feet from my property? And then when they want to come in and put more in, they've already got their foot in, they come in and put more in. These things can throw ice 1,600 feet. You imagine driving down the road and a piece of ice come through your windshield? Maybe kill my wife or me? You know, there's just some things that are just not worth it. And they've already said that they're gonna have to keep building them bigger and bigger to compete with out in Iowa and the Plains states because they have more wind than what we do. Oh yeah, we have wind, but not all the time. We have sun, but not all the time. That's my point. Like I said, the man took his down because it was bothering the neighbors so bad. And that was only a 40-footer. Can you imagine a 600-foot, twice the size of Cedar Point roller coasters? You look out your back door and there it is right in your face. That's my point.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
My name is Greg Smith, and I live in Boone Township. And I'm going to have 19 of these turbines, these 600-foot turbines, within a mile and a half of my house. And I own 35 acres, so when we talk about the proposed changes to the setback rules, it's a big, big difference when you're talking property line versus inhabited residence. So we're going to Columbus next week to talk about that. But I'd also like and encourage the commissioners, all three of the commissioners, to read the book Paradise Destroyed. It's a book about a guy who's been there, done that in South Dakota. And I'm going to present these three books to you, and I'm really asking you to read it. Well, maybe somebody's already done this.
There's already a copy here, yeah.
For each of you, have you read it?
No, there's one here.
Have you read it?
No. I
Want you to
read
read
about
it?
it now. I got it.
So I'm giving you three. One's for Shane, but I want you to read it. I'm going to come back the next meeting and ask you.
Test?
Yes. Yep. You're elected, it is a test.
You got homework.
I'm going to come back every meeting until you tell me you've read it. I'm going to ask every meeting if you read it.
It's the value under $25. We'll have to claim it on our financial disclosure. Ms. Brown.
$5. $5.
Okay.
Mike, may I also say, Saturday and Sunday, I was out for signatures. County Road 16, from State Route 19 to 100. I didn't get all the houses, some of the people weren't home, but anyhow, believe me, I got, what was it, Kurt? There was 50-some signatures. Not all were.
Did you get any no's?
Pardon?
Did you get any people that didn't want to sign?
One.
Okay.
And you commissioners are elected by and to serve us.
Majority.
And you should listen to the people. To me, that shows something right there. That many people in that area. I mean, just that road. And believe me, if I had more time.
Well, I did have a preliminary look at the petition, and I was, the one thing that I noted was, you know, first of all, are they all Sunday County residents? Some are. Most, 99% of them are. But the diversity of geographic locations, I mean, there was a lot of Fostoria addresses, a lot of village addresses, certainly a lot of Tiffin addresses. So that was one of the things that influenced me as well. It wasn't just Bloom Township or, you know, Republic of South. Way in the back, way in the back.
Hi, my name is Dawn Heff, and I live in Adams Township, and my question is for Commissioner Stacy. I understand that you take a strong stance on this, but my question is, if it's just putting it to a vote, why are you so against letting the people talk rather than have that decision that was already put in place? Why won't you allow, if you rescind the AEZ and then people get to vote, if they want it, then they'll get it. Why can't we vote?
Rescinding the AEC there's no path for us to put it to a vote. That's state legislation.
But it
That's
gives them
not
more of
us.
an opportunity.
The state could still put that in place.
I don't think that Commissioner Stacy, I don't need to speak for her, but I don't think she said anything about, although I don't know where she stands on it, vote. But I don't think there was any objection to that. It's just the only power that we have as a commission is to either keep the AEZ or revoke it. That's really the only thing.
Sort of.
Right now that we have.
You have power to advocate for your constituency
Well,
in
sure.
Columbus like you have already.
No,
on the
I'm
other
from a
side.
legislative standpoint.
Yeah.
And recommendations, you can make recommendations
So
to
you can do a
people.
lot of things.
Yeah, okay.
But that's all you
Make sure
can
that's
do
clear.
from documentation. Yes, sir.
Thank you for coming to the meeting last week. Holly, why are you can never make it to a wind turbine meeting unless it's provided by Apex.
The 2 meetings you've had where you invited me have had other commitments. We have a lot of things, and a lot of times it's divide and conquer so we can be represented as a board at various events. I was at the Tiffin Historic Trust program on Thursday evenings.
You made it to Apex's meeting.
I did, just happened to work.
Guys, it's very difficult to get to all the meetings that are. Okay. All right. Yes, sir, one more question.
My name is Zachary West. I'm a licensed physician of the state of Ohio from Pleasant Township. Some may know that for the last 12 years, originally from north of Tiffin, Old Fort area, I've been around the state of Ohio pursuing a higher education and about done with residency. And for the last 12 years, people have been asking, where are you going? Where are you going to come back? Where are you going to practice? Especially more recently, are you going to come back to Seneca County? And I always have answered, Seneca County has always been my home. I've always considered it my home. It's great people. Always been looking forward to coming back here to take care of the much needed care that's needed in this area. In fact, I did some research yesterday. It's listed by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services as a physician shortage area. And there's a much needed healthcare providers in this area. So it meets that need, but I also know, and I looked this up just yesterday as well, from the 2018 American Medical Association and the U.S. Department of Bureau of Labor Statistics, that physicians not only come back and take care of the people, their neighbors, their community members, but they also bring a significant amount of resources to the area. In fact, each physician for the state of Ohio, on average, brings 12.9 jobs, about $1 million worth of wages and benefits for those 12.9. They also bring a significant amount of tax revenue into the area as well. And so as I sort of enter this phase where I'm looking at where do I want to practice, where do I set up, where do I look for contracts, if I pursue those contracts, I'm closely watching this because about the last 4 months is when I became aware of this. And I wouldn't have become aware had the neighbors not sort of approached and said, did you know this was going on? And it's sort of disgusting to see the games that are played with the wind companies. Well, they'll come in and pin neighbor against neighbor. They'll sort of come in and tear communities apart. You talk to the communities that have already been affected and this sort of takes place. And I look at this and I wonder, do I really want to sort of enter in here? Do I want to come in here and try to take care of neighbors that they're fighting with each other? Provide that needed health care? Do I want to come in here and invest in here if the wind turbines are going to go up and sort of people are going to start moving out and people are going to move elsewhere? You talk to some people, there's concerns about that. So long term, there's implications for those residents that have been here for years, who built homes here, built lives here, invested in their communities. They may up and move, and you may have people like myself that will look at this and say, I don't want to be part of this.
Thank you very much.
Last one question. Chris Eichholz, Bloom Township.
All right.
How many is it gonna take? Because that's a month. And then let me tell you, I don't know about you guys, but this re-energizes me. And we aren't gonna stop. This is just gonna grow and gonna blow up.
Yeah, see,
How many?
I appreciate that, Chris. Commissioner Stacy has stated her position at this point. So where this isn't a meeting to challenge, this is a meeting to hopefully get things done. So we'll let that decision for another day. So we are going to adjourn. You guys are welcome to stay and talk if you want. This is a public building, but I think that we.
It's our tax dollars at work.
Yes, sir.
Well, when can we come to the next meeting with Holly being here? She wants to listen to
Mr. Hufford had his hand
that.
up.
When can we?
Okay, I thought.
Jim Hufford.
Yeah, we didn't hear you, Jim.
All right.
When will you be available here so we can talk to you in person then, so you can hear our side then?
I've heard your side, but if you want to, set up appointments, call the office, we can do that.
Well, I'd rather have an audience like this so we can tack you.
To the wall.
At least you're honest.
I still have not gotten a solid answer on life flight, and that's a major concern for a lot of us.
You know what, The technical questions, we don't.
Well, I
have
just
it.
want Ms. Stacy
Yeah, I
to
know.
know
I
that
mean,
we
I've been told
are
for the emer-
entitled to the same quality of healthcare
Yeah.
and, you know, as you are and as everybody, you know,
I've been
that
told
doesn't
that-
have these around their homes are.
I've been told directly from a pilot, it's like any other obstruction on the ground that they have to watch for when they go to land. It will not prevent them from landing.
Correct, but they'll have to transport me to where that air ambulance can land.
But it's,
Well, I mean, there are all kinds of solutions to that the wind company would tell you, but like I said, I really don't want to get into the minutia today if we can avoid it. I'm sure. I'm gonna allow one question and then we're out of here.
Thank you. Tammy Andrews, Venice Township. I just found out from my stepdaughter, who's a former paramedic on Life Flight, that she has friends in Western Ohio, and when she visits them and sees the lights that aren't working, she has to call her colleagues to let them know the lights aren't working at the top of these turbines. And I said, how often does that happen? She said a lot. And I said, how long does it last? Thinking, you know, she called them as soon as the light went off and, you know, it was taken care of. She said weeks, one went on for 4 months where it was off.
Trying to eliminate the flicker over there.
That would do it.
All right, we are adjourned. There you go.